you talked about getting out to a fast start, and I remember you said that even after
Sure.
that you guys didn't get out to a faster start. Have you pinpointed maybe the reason you guys haven't been able to? Maybe it's a mistake here or there. Or why haven't you been able to get out to those fast starts?
Yeah, well, I think if you look at last week's game, the 13th play of the game, we're on the 2-yard line, chance to go in and score. We get a penalty, and then the next play we ran the ball, we got a penalty, and then the next play was designed to go to Noah. Noah was wide open, and we had a little protection thing that caused the sack, but we're trying to utilize Noah and we had him for a touchdown. So we're on the doorstep of being 10-10. The 13th to 15th play of the game, which would have got us a little faster start. And again, it's everything. We got a young offense. I was told today it's the third youngest offense, and we got some growing pains that we're going through, but we're playing better in a lot of areas. There's just some areas we got to continue to get better at. We speak to the third downs because they're somewhere longer, but we're 8 for 9 on fourth down. Maybe that's what we do. Get close and go for it on fourth down. That still keeps drives alive. So, there's, when you're working with young players and a lot of new players, you just got to keep grinding and keep being very positive. We're our last play from tying the game possibly with a 2-point play. And so we just got to keep grinding. And I think that's the message.
With those failures on first and second down, and also early in games, getting off to that fast start, is there any consideration of we need to overhaul things, or we need to change things, or is it just kind of like you're saying, fine tuning things, improving those areas you still need to improve?
I think you got to fine tune all areas. Games play out differently. There's some games, and again, when you win games, we talk about certain things that need to improve. When you lose games, it's you should have run the ball more, or you should have done this, should have done that. So I get that, and we try not to respond to that other than each play needs to have success. And when you don't have success, we want to be in a position where the third down or fourth down play keeps us on the field.
You went no huddle late, obviously, because you're
2
trying to
minutes,
catch
yeah.
up, but is there ever any thought to maybe going no huddle a little early on just to give the offense some juice if they are slow starting?
Yeah, I mean that's a good thought. I think there are times when we'll do that, but we were in what we call save mode. We're down by 2 scores, so you go a little faster. It's not truly no huddle, but we're executing at the line of scrimmage, and our guys did a good job with that. But yeah, I mean it's something you can something to think about.
On the next to last play before Teddy threw the interception, is Spencer the primary target, or
He was an outlet in that situation. I mean, everybody that runs routes has got an opportunity to catch a ball, but he was in there, and he had the corner route, and we threw it to him, and we just didn't connect. But there were 2 under routes. We had a short post on the backside, so there were other places to go with the ball first. That just happened to be where it went.
With the protection, are you hopeful that, I guess, first of all, how much of a problem is Dalton and Graham being in and out of the lineup kind of caused there, and are you hopeful that some consistency?
Yeah, I mean, obviously consistency with the O-line is important. I think when Quinn and Moody had to go in and play against Baltimore, they did some good things, and you typically need more than one player at each position, and the experience that the young players get is good as you play through the season.
Talk about the youth of this group. Where have you seen Noah come the furthest in your time here, and where would you like him to maybe get some more help that way? How critical is that for what you guys do when you're trying to have a neutral look, for example, and be able to run pass?
Well, last week, we used Noah quite a bit in the chip game. The matchups that we were trying to exploit last week were outside versus their corners, and I think that's the way you approach it when you play the Steelers. There's other games when that's not the case. We've thrown them touchdown passes already. I think with receivers, they just keep running routes, and the production that you all are wondering about, it comes in bunches. And I think it's a long season. The matchups are different every week, and they just got to keep grinding, and they'll come your way. I mean, a couple games ago, who would have thunk that Cortland would have as much production as he did? But each matchup is different, and, I think they just got to keep playing and keep improving. And even though we talk about Noah's a young player. Noah's a young player that's making great improvements as he plays through this thing.
when it comes to the running game, how important is it when you try to establish it, but to kind of stick with it even when kind of the game you're behind 2 scores and things are going a little off script?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I want to run plays that are working, and so, early in the game we ran the ball I think 4 times early with limited success, and I want to stick with the run and keep it going. But you got to throw it and you got to run it and be efficient in all areas and ultimately score points. And I think that's what we're trying to get done.
Pat, as someone who's done both quite a bit, head coach and offensive coordinator, is the scrutiny, the spotlight as harsh on a play caller as it is as a head coach?
I think it's, there's scrutiny on all of us all the time, and I think it's the pendulum swings, the first 3 weeks. If you're a team that's winning games, things are mostly good. There's still things you're going to talk about or you're going to cherry pick that need to improve. But when those things happen and you lose games, then the pendulum swings the other way. So we're used to that. That's why we don't try to consume all the stuff outside the building. We just keep grinding. There's 17 games. We played 5. At this point, we got a winning record, and so we put all our focus on the next opponent. And that's just the way we all function. I'd love to read all your stuff, but I think I just can't do it, and I won't do it, and I really have never done it. I'm sure it's all tremendous, but we know that, and I think, you play a game and then there's a lot of build up to the game. The game's over and there's still like what happened in the game, then you build up to the next one. So I get all that. That's part of our business, but from the inside out, I think you're just smart not to consume it.
With a young offense, do you have to temper your expectations in terms of production while they're going through that learning curve, or no?
No, I think we're as impatient for success as anybody. That's why we do this. That's why we coach, because we want to put them out there. We want to do things that work, and we want them to have success. We want to see them run around in the end zone celebrating. We want to see them scoring more points than the opponent. We want every run to have, the oohs and ahs, like a couple of the runs that Javonte has had. We want that for them, and that's what we're trying to get. The reality in our league, and I think this is the difference between some college settings, defenses in this league, they fight back. And so there are wins and losses as you go through the game. And you're always constantly looking for more wins than losses with the goal to get your offense in the end zone. And games play out differently. I think we only had 4 possessions in the first half last week. So we got to make the most of those. Some games you'll have way more than that. And so we understand that.
Coach, how do you prevent as many 3rd and longs as you've been in?
Well, within that question is the obvious, right? You have more success on 1st, 2nd down, especially early in the game, And, so early in the game is you're playing this thing out, right? Most games are pretty close early in the game if you look at it, right? You can watch all the way to halftime. There's a lot of 10-3s, 7-3, 14-10 games. And like I said, where we needed to be better in that game, the 13th play of the game, we're on the 2-yard line. That ball's got to go in and make it 10-10, right? And then now the game plays out maybe a little bit differently through the rest of the first half and then into the second.
Cortland Sutton's had a couple big games. Is he back to his true self, or does he still even have more room to grow to kind of settle in, coming off that knee injury?
Yeah, he's a young player, right? And he's coming back from injury, so certainly. I think we as an offense and all the individual players have an opportunity to continue to grow, and I'm certainly, when you're coaching young players, you need to encourage and demand, which we're doing. And be more glass half full. We had 3 performances that helped us win 3 games. We had 2 where there's areas where we need to get better, and that's the focus as we get going. And it's collective, and it's also from an individual standpoint.
I understand it's a 17-week season. It's a long season.
Sure it is.
Definitely.
Right.
But when
you got a lot to write about still.
Yeah, when you have an AFC West team coming here Raiders week at home. Does that add importance to it in division?
Yeah, I think certainly. I mean, division games are important, and I think the 2 games that we played last year, same thing. We're going in to tie the game before half. We threw an interception, and then it kind of fell apart on us in Vegas. Here, we moved the ball, scored points, and we kind of lost it at the end. And so, they play out differently. They're highly competitive. The rivalry matters, and it's a division game. And for this Sunday, it's our next one.
What did you see from John Brown yesterday, and what sort of impact do you think he can have?
Yeah, we're getting him going. So we're going to try to have something hopefully strategic for him to do, in the game. He's very fast. He's a pro. We've had enough conversations with him over a short period of time to see that he's a real pro, and he's trying to pick things up as quickly as possible. So it's a credit to him, and Zach's working hard with him, and I'm trying to give him plays that he can go in and use his skill set.
Big picture with Teddy through 5 games, what do you think he's done really well, and what do you want to see him do a little more of?
Yeah, I think 4.5 games. And in his half a game, I think he's helped us win 3 games. Last week he helped us almost win our 4th game, and then he got knocked out of that 4th game at halftime. But see, Teddy's is a pro, and he's an 8-year guy. I certainly know how he thinks, having been around him, and he's a very positive, demanding presence. And I think he's going to help our offense get better as he plays through this thing. And he's done a lot of really good things so far. I think the thing with Teddy is when he makes a mistake, sometimes it's just a mistake. It's not catastrophic, And so that's just like a second down play where you just take a knee and make it 3rd down. You're better off doing that than getting the ball turned over or getting the game twisted in some ways. And I think that's just part of his charm.
What did you see in Kendall Hinton that allowed him to make the leap from last year to this year and take advantage of the opportunity?
Young player who committed himself to improving, and he has a feel for playing receiver, and he just keeps grinding. And he took advantage of some of his opportunities the other night, and he'll be in there until we get Jerry Jeudy back. Because Jerry and KJ and Big O are all out. Those guys that are filling in for those guys are getting a great opportunity to shine.
If you're not reading all of our stuff, what are you reading?
Scouting reports. By the end of the night when I sit down to read, which I love to read, but it's about 5 minutes and I do this. So
that's the reaction most of us get to, though.
Yeah, no, reading is a good thing. Maybe I'll consume it all at once the season's over.
As long as Google is that thing, have you ever Googled yourself?
I don't really. I'm not a very social media savvy guy. I mean, I just don't consume it. I don't see the point in most of it, quite frankly. I mean, I still use a pencil. I really mean that. I think. Sometimes, it bothers me to see, and you have to use it for your jobs, but when a group of people get together and nobody's speaking because they're all looking at their phones, I just sort of think there's something wrong with that. I really do.
It's called family dinner.
Yeah, I love her to death, but I really don't even call my wife that much, but when I see her, it's just great, and I just have, it's just never been my thing.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.